Hey guys, Michael the DC Multiverse Collector here, bringing you a look at this McFarlane Collector Edition Platinum Chase DC Multiverse Hawkman. Now, as we all know, the McFarlane Collector Edition figures come with a Platinum Chase variant, which is slightly rarer in each assortment. This is Hawkman in his Platinum Chase colours. It's his classic Golden Age Hawkman colours with green and red and vibrant yellow. I've been really looking forward to adding this Hawkman to my Justice Society of America shelf, so big thanks to McFarlane Toys and Head Start Toys for sending me this figure for review. Now on the side here you'll see it says Hawkman 0 Hour and it's collector edition number 5. They number these. And on the back you have Hawkman as depicted in the 0 Hour storyline. This is not what the figure looks like because he's in his classic colours in this particular box, but what have you, that's just is what it is. Now, before we open this figure and get a look at how cool he is or isn't, let's see, I'd really appreciate it if you gave this video a like, maybe consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, it really helps me. So, without any further ado, let's get Hawkman open and see what we get in this collector edition figure. So here's everything you get in this collector edition box. Now, let's just get the elephant in the room dealt with. These collector editions are more expensive than the regular figures in the line, and the community, I think it's fair to say as a whole, is quite mystified about why we are paying more for essentially what are just standard figures. Now, despite how really nice this figure looks, there is nothing about the sculpt or the paintwork that in any way suggests that it was a higher budgeted figure or more money was spent on it, so it's very difficult to see why this commands a higher price. I think that's fair to say of all the collector edition figures released so far. Some have been average, some have been really excellent, but none of them have felt like they justify the price point. And look, let's go through what we get in the box and sort of look at it holistically. So first things first, the display stand. I'm sick of talking about it, you're sick of seeing it. These are the same as ever, but they do have that silver DC logo printed on them. So you're not getting your money's worth out of the display stand, but you know, it's nice to get nonetheless. Although query whether Hawkman, being a winged character, should have come with a flight stand. I think he should have. I think all characters with wings or capes that fly should have a flight stand, but that's just me. Let me know what you think. Now, next we have this card stand and collector card. Now, this is probably the most controversial aspect because I know most collectors couldn't give a hoot about this. Sound off in the comments if you actually like these display stands. My feeling is that most people who would collect a figure like Hawkman and pay this premium for Hawkman are kind of like me, and if you see those shelves in the background, they have all their figures bunched up tight to save space, and they don't have room to display a beautiful art card on a stand, so this is going in a drawer for me. In terms of the sculpt of it, it's nothing special. It's got the DC logo on it, it's hollow at the back, it does the job, but who's asking for this? I don't know. I'd rather an extra set of hands or an alternate head, but that's just me. The card itself is quite nice. It's got that sort of foil lettering down the side, and it's got sort of no border on it. It's actually a really nice design. And there you will see we have the data file. Oh wow! Has anyone spotted the error? It thinks that this is Abyss from Batman vs. Abyss. This is Hawkman. So please tell me if your card has an error like this, or I'm just the recipient of a very rare Abyss Hawkman card. But there's the bio. You can pause it and have a read if you like. It's Carter Hall, one of the most convoluted backstories of any character and superhero in all of comics. An absolute nightmare, but we love Hawkman nonetheless. Next, let's have a look at the mace. There it is. Let's get it into focus. The classic weapon of Hawkman, and I think this is done really nicely. It's got a really nice sculpt on the handle and also on the weapon itself. Lots of nice detail. So a good little weapon. It's quite soft. It should go into his hand quite well. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Next, we get these wings. Now, I don't think these really count as accessories. They are an essential part of the figure after all. Maybe you could argue it adds to the bulk of the figure, but only barely. Now, my understanding is that these wings are a reuse of a Spawn figure that had wings. I don't really care about that. What I will say is the sculpt of these is absolutely incredible. Each feather is just beautifully rendered on these wings. They look great. Really great, and I think that these have been painted really nicely for the Platinum Chase. They've not just one color, they've got some wash here to give some color gradation. to the wings, and you can see that they're also beautifully coloured on the other side too. So the wings look really, really great. I will do query though whether we could have got some actual articulation in the wings to sort of spread them out into a flight pose. I only say that because there are figures in the line that have had wing articulation. I'll show you a comparison later. But look, for what these are, they look pretty good. We'll plug them into Hawkman soon and see how they work as incorporated into the figure. So here's Hawkman with his wings ported in, with his mace in hand, and I've got to say, I think he looks really, really great. Taking a closer look at the aesthetics of this figure, I think it looks absolutely tremendous. Now, while these classic colours perhaps don't meld completely with this more modern sculpt with sort of the black hair and everything, I think they get the job done. They definitely suggest the classic Golden Age Hawkman look, and I think the colours that have been chosen are excellent. Coming in for a look at the head sculpt, I think that this head sculpt is absolutely incredible. I love the sculpted feathers all around, and I love the gold paint on the beak and at the sides of the helmet. The dark paint inset behind the eyes really give it some depth. I think it looks really, really good. We've already looked at the wings. I think they look excellent. One thing you'll notice here is that there is chest hair sculpted. Now, on the regular release, that's given some paint. I think it was the right choice not to put chest hair on this version. I think it would have ruined that Golden Age aesthetic. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I think this is probably the right choice. The skin tone is very, very pink. I think it maybe is a little bit too pink. It could have been a little bit more tanned looking. That's just me. It looks all right. You'll see the Hawkman emblem looks okay. I think there might be a little bit of paint slop on mine, but it looks pretty crisp overall. I can't complain. The belt is just a solid yellow. You'll see the diaper piece has got some sculpting in it, which really makes the diaper look a whole lot better than if it was just a solid nappy looking piece, which is what we often get with McFarlane. I really like his sort of claw hand here, or his like special gauntlet with the painted yellow details. Looks really, really good. One thing I did notice, and you should be wary of this on yours, is I already have seen a little bit of tearing. Can you see that? Right there, right here, there is a slight tear in the diaper piece, and you should be wary of that when articulating, that you don't sort of tear the diaper. I'm worried that this over time is going to degrade and I'm going to have a torn diaper there, which is a real bummer, which is a problem with this sort of soft diaper design, that they're perhaps not the most durable way of going about leg articulation. But anyway, the legs themselves, I like the proportions. They're kind of like long and muscular. I like the sort of creases that have been sculpted there. Looks really, really nice. I don't think there's any paint on them at all. They're just solid green plastic. There's a slight green but difference between this plastic here, the knee and the top, but it's pretty subtle and it's not going to bother all but the most sort of finicky. And I think the boots sculpted really, really nicely. I do like the lick of paint that goes down there. Of course, it gets broken up when you use the articulation, but that's to be expected. Overall, I think the simplicity and cleanliness of the paint really sells this guy. And I think the sculpt, the underlying sculpt, is just excellent. So aesthetically, I think, it's one of the better figures that McFarlane's released all year. And I think it's just going to look absolutely incredible on the shelf. Turning now to articulation, starting with the wings, you'll see they port into Hawkman's back right here. These ports allow you to tilt the wings up and down, like that, and like that, which is pretty nice. You can also sort of lift them away from his body to strike a sort of flight pose, or sort of bend them closer to the body if he's standing. So the wings don't do much, but I think it's pretty okay. My query is why McFarlane didn't articulate them. I think he could have done more, and as you'll see from my comparisons later on, there are other figures in the line where he has articulated the wings that work quite well. But let me know in the comments if you think his wings could have used a little bit more dynamic posing articulation. Anyway, coming up to have a look at the head, you'll see it rotates 360 degrees. You get a good amount of tilt either direction. He looks down that much and looks up that much. So the head has got solid articulation. The hair is soft, so it doesn't really impede it. Butterfly joints allow the standard rotation. Swivels at the biceps. Double jointed elbows. Standard hinge that rotates at the wrist, looks good. Now, the diaphragm cut allows you to do 360-degree range of motion, the same at the waist. It's not inhibited by the harness, which is good, although you just want to be careful when you're doing it that you don't get the harness caught, you don't tear it. He kicks out over 90 degrees, does a perfect splits, double jointed knees, slight rotation in the thigh but no cut, no boot cut as you would expect from a McFarlane figure, foot rotation, rocker, up, down, and toe articulation. Crunches forward, not much. Crunches back, a decent amount. So overall, very solid articulation, nothing out of the ordinary, but no major complaints. And now for some comparisons. Here we have Hawkman against the Sky Tyrant, who is the Batman who laughs with Hawkman wings. These wings articulate, they spread out and look really impressive, like so. And I kind of wonder whether McFarlane could have incorporated that sort of articulation into Hawkman's wings. Here we have Hawkman against Alan Scott, another founding member of the Justice Society. They look great together with their bold, bright colours, as do Hawkman and Jay Garrick. Those reds, yellows and blues really pop against each other and they'll look great together in a display. And here's Hawkman standing next to Dr. Fate, another Justice Society of America member. Now this is the Injustice Page Puncher's Dr. Fate. It's not a classic design. We are long overdue for a sort of classic golden age Dr. Fate, but still I think these two look reasonably good together. And here's Hawkman next to the Black Adam movie Atom Smasher mega figure. Now, while this is a movie-based figure, I think it adopts a fairly classic-looking design, and so these two look reasonably good side by side. Finally, here's Hawkman alongside Action Comics #1 Superman, or First Appearance Superman. This is the Platinum Chase version of that collector edition figure, so it's really more like a Superman #1 figure with that emblem and the red boots. But anyway, these two are of a piece in terms of their sort of style and colouring and sort of golden age look, so I think these two look really, really good together. So what do I think about this Hawkman Platinum Chase variant? I think it's an excellent figure. I have some qualms about the collector edition line as a whole. I think the figures in this line are not different enough to justify that exorbitant price, but I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money. You will make your own assessment of value. I can only speak to the quality of the figure, and I think the figure itself is excellent. The sculpt is great, the colours are great. I do wish that the platinum colours had actually been the standard variant. I think this is the version that most people would want, so I'm a little bit disappointed that if we want a classic Hawkman, you have to go chasing a rare figure. But even if you got the regular figure, I think that the sculpt itself is excellent, and it's pretty much a must-have. So that's all from me. If you've liked this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out. And I've got some more reviews coming down the pike, including Sinestro, Firestorm, and the Doomsday vs Superman 2-pack. So, in the meantime, happy collecting, and thanks so much for watching.